Hey guys, if you are just joining me for the first time right now, you are in the wrong part because this is part two of our Unit 3.6 Google slide presentation or PowerPoint. So if you haven't watched part one yet, then stop this, go back, watch part one, and then come join me for part two. In part one, we covered questions 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm still on slide 4, as you guys can see. You should be done with that. Make sure you did your left-hand side questions. Everything's all great and wonderful and highlighted and all that jazz. And if you haven't done it yet, draw a line underneath everything you just wrote, because here we go for question 5. All right, so the national debt was not the only thing that Hamilton and Jefferson disagreed about, or where the capital should be was not the only thing that they disagreed about. Okay, you got to remember that Alexander Hamilton is pro-federal government. He's a big national government guy. Okay, this is why there is a musical about the dude, all right? He's all about America and government, okay? And a mover and shaker in politics, so try to remember that. Alexander Hamilton, big central government guy. Remember, central government is the same thing as saying federal government or national level government, okay? He wants to improve the economy by supporting business, okay? Alexander Hamilton, business guy, into making deals, okay? So the people that are going to support Alexander Hamilton are the people that are, generally speaking, going to support the Federalist Party. They are people who are into industry, into business. They are often wealthy. Okay, you're talking about businessmen and lawyers and doctors and wealthy merchants, and those type of people in business are going to be the people that are going to like Hamilton's ideas. Okay? Where on the other side, you've got Jefferson. Jefferson is a conservative, Democratic Republican. He is very much in favor of a very strict interpretation of the Constitution. We can only do what it says. If it doesn't say it, we can't do it. He's very concerned about tyranny. He's very concerned about any one branch or any one person getting too much power. In Jefferson's mind, the best form of government would be a small federal government, and state government would have more power and authority. He thinks that the national government having too much power is going to lead to like another King George III kind of situation. So TJ, Thomas Jefferson, he's all about an economy based on agriculture, which remember is farming, okay? So he's big on plantation owned and farming owned, driven state economies that is going to be, their main economic source is just farming. And so Jefferson is supported by people who would be down with Democratic Republicans, okay? He is all about farmers, so farmers are going to support him. Okay, he has his own plantation. In fact, Monticello, very famous plantation, still exists. You can go tour it. All right, and frontiersmen as well. Those back country guys that are right on the line of what we own and wilderness and things owned by other people and more Native Americans and stuff, right? Those frontiersmen out living in the wild, countryside out in the woods. They're going to support Jefferson. They don't want a lot of big cities. They don't want a lot of business and industry. All right, so very different points of view, which is part of why Washington puts both of those guys in his cabinet. He knows they're not going to get along, and he doesn't particularly get along with either one of them at some times, especially Jefferson. But again, multiple opinions coming in with multiple ideas, that's going to be how you're going to help get the best ideas at the end of the day if you can survive the arguments. All right, so highlight, important stuff, good, left-hand side question, draw a line underneath everything you just wrote. And if you're not ready, then push pause, because here we go. Okay, something else. Oh yeah, notice you got 5 there, and now we got a 5B. If you already drew your line, because I told you to draw your line, then it's okay. Just do a new one. Q5B, Hamilton versus Jefferson, highlight it yellow. You're good. It's all golden. No worries. Okay, so as we mentioned in part 1, France is in the middle of their own revolution. Okay, and once again, TJ and Hamilton not on the same page about how to go about the deal with France. If you remember way back to when we learned about the American Revolution, who saved our butts and helped us to win was France, coming in and loaning us troops and loaning us money and giving us supplies. If France hadn't come in and given us an assist, we would probably most likely not be the United States of America. Okay, so we kind of owe France big, right? I mean, they were there in our hour of need up against the strongest country and most powerful navy in the world at that point, right? England. And so now France is in the middle of their own revolution, and France is saying, hey, we could use some help. Well, they helped us, so now what, right? Jefferson's stance on this is we should absolutely help France. They helped us, we need to help them. Okay, let's set an example to the world about the type of governments we want to see on our planet, right? So Jefferson's all for helping France with the French Revolution. Hamilton, on the other hand, is like, we're a little tiny baby country right now. We barely survived the American Revolution. We're in debt. We've got tons of our own issues right now, and you want to go halfway across the world and go help somebody else? Yeah, we can't do that. All right, they both have good points, so who's right, who's wrong is kind of a matter of opinion. But the point is, they get in huge arguments about this and cannot agree. Jefferson says, yes, France. Hamilton says, heck no. Okay, so make sure you got it. Here we go. Here's George Washington's deal. What the freak, guys? Stop arguing. We got our own problems. We don't want to make enemies. We got to stay out of it. Okay, so Washington's take is let's stay neutral. This is something Switzerland these days is very famous for, just staying neutral. Okay, neutral like Switzerland. All right, so that's what Washington's take is we can't afford to help. We can't afford to say, we hope you lose, right? We just need to be friends with everyone and try to trade and do business with everyone right now. We don't want to isolate anyone. We don't want to tick anybody off. And we certainly can't help anybody right now because we got our own problems and our own debt and our own deal happening because we're not that big and old of a country at this point. So Jefferson and Hamilton are kind of disappointed because Washington doesn't want to take anybody's side. He's not saying, oh, well, you know, I agree with Hamilton because we shouldn't help. That's not what he's saying. Their reasons for not wanting to help are different. Washington's not saying yes or no. Washington's saying just stay out of it. We're neutral. I don't want to state my opinion. I plead the fifth. Okay, so we're going to stay neutral about this is President Washington's take on the whole deal. So he wants to stay neutral. Okay. All right. So here's the deal. Q6. Last question. Yes. Last question for this PowerPoint. All right, guys. So yet another thing that all the boys are going to argue about here is that Hamilton wants to invest in a national bank, which we never had before. So this would be the first national bank of the United States because he feels that it's going to help support the economy. Because remember, he's all about economy and industry and business, and banks do things like loan people money to start businesses, right? So Hamilton's going to be pro-bank because he's pro-economy and pro-business, and that's what he wants. Okay, well, to be fair, Jefferson, of course, is pro-economy too, but he just wants to go about it with farming, not necessarily industry and business. Okay, so of course, Hamilton being pro-bank, if you've learned anything up to this point, means that Jefferson's going to be anti-bank. Boo to bank, says TJ, right? Again, he's all about very strict interpretation of the Constitution. It does not say anywhere in the Constitution that we have the power to create a bank. And so therefore, Jefferson, always concerned about the federal government getting too powerful, says it doesn't say we can do it, so we can't do it. We don't have the power to do that, okay? No, no, no. Well, of course, Hamilton's like, yes, yes, yes. And here's what he argues. You might remember that you learned this a few weeks back, okay? He said it's an applied power given to us in the U.S. Constitution through that little gem that we call the elastic clause. Now, if you don't remember the elastic clause, you should. Shame on you. But if you don't, remember the elastic clause means, elastic, flexible, bendable. The founding fathers realized there's no way we're going to be able to make every law and rule for everything we're ever going to need. Society will change. Technology will change. Inventions will change. What people are into and the culture and priorities of society are going to change. Okay, so we need something in the U.S. Constitution to help it stay a living document, something that's changeable, something that allows us to continue to be relevant and current with the times. And one of the things that they did was the elastic clause. The elastic clause says, if you remember, that Congress has the right to create laws that are necessary and proper. And you might remember us talking about necessary and proper because, who's to say what is necessary and proper? Because the U.S. Constitution did not define those words. And so there's been a lot of arguments since day one all the way up through present times about exactly what necessary and proper is and is not. But this is Hamilton's argument. Hey, we can create a national bank of the United States because it is necessary and proper for us to do so. It's going to help our country in a positive way, according to Hamilton. So we have the right to do it because it's an implied power through the elastic clause. What Jefferson and Hamilton are ultimately arguing about, obviously, is the word necessary. Hamilton saying this is necessary for our country to move forward and gain momentum financially and economically and to be profitable and succeed. Jefferson is saying, no, this is not necessary. Okay, so that's what the two guys can't agree on. All right. Each guy is told by Washington, you guys obviously very much differ on your opinion about this, so here's what I want you guys to do. Okay, this is before email and video and all that stuff, right? People wrote a lot back then. People wrote letters all the time. They wrote things down. This was not an unusual request. He says, I pretty much want you to write an essay. I want you to write, says George Washington, your point of view about why you're right on whether or not we should have a national bank like Hamilton wants, or we should not have a national bank like Jefferson says. So both guys go about writing their justification about why they think they're right and the other person is wrong. And ultimately, he reads both of the essays, he thinks it over, and Washington sides with Hamilton, saying, you know what, I agree with Hamilton. I do think creating a national bank is a good idea. I think it is covered under the necessary and proper clause or the elastic clause, and we should do it. This obviously very much so ticks off TJ and is going to create really what's going to get the political party system started. All right. How does a bank work anyways? Why are they arguing about a bank? Why do we want a bank? What's the deal with the bank? Okay, well, look at number one here. Workers use their wages to buy the goods and services that they want, right? You go to work, you have a job, you get a paycheck, and then you go buy stuff you need and stuff you want, okay? And then they deposit some of that money along the way in banks, right? Because people save money for things and it goes into a bank. Great. Step two, banks use the money that they're getting by a whole bunch of different people putting money into the bank. And they lend out that money to people who want to buy stuff, like in today's world, cars and houses or start a business or those kind of things. But here's the deal. If we're going to loan you out other people's money we happen to be sitting on right now, we need, some assurance. And we need to make some money somehow in this deal. So we're going to charge you interest. So if you want to borrow $100 from us, well, it's not going to cost you $100 to do that. It's going to cost you $110 to do that. We're going to charge you 10% interest, for example, right? Those kind of things. So those are how they're going to make money. And then the businesses use the loans that they got, even though they got to pay back interest, to create new products and services and stuff. And the more they sell, the more workers they hire. Those hire helpers put money back into the bank, and the cycle goes around and around, and it helps the economy and all that stuff. So that's what a bank does, and that's what they're discussing. You want to watch at least a couple of these, pick and choose what you want to do, you guys, but you want to watch those. And keep in mind all these disagreements between Hamilton and Jefferson, and there were many during the course of part 1 and part 2 of this PowerPoint, is going to be the rift that's going to create political parties in the United States. All right, guys? All right. Write those summaries. Love ya. See you later.